folks, welcome back to another video. You join me at a really cool crag here in North Wales called Clowder at Roscollin. As you can see, absolutely stunning spot, kind of nice orangey rock. You can see some people climbing probably. One of the routes that we're going to do today is a route called Icarus, which is a bit of a gem of a route actually. So I thought I'd sort of showcase that and get a bit of climbing footage. And then the other part of the video is chatting about CAMS. So I've got a selection here: Black Diamond C4s, Demon Dragons, totems and Wild Country Friends, plus a couple of totem basics. So I want to chat about CAMS and placing CAMS, also which ones you should buy. So what we'll do, we'll wait for these people to finish off on Icarus, or at least you know, get past the first pitch belay. It's done in 2 pitches, this one, and then we'll get climbing, have a chat. I'll take the camera stuff with me and sort of talk en route. It's a glorious day here in the sun, so it should be a bit of a cracker. It's such a good climb. I love sea cliff climbing. If you've watched my videos before, you know I've said that a million times. It's so good. I've just placed the totem cam in there, a bit of a sort of a pockety placement on the shallow side. It's got a nice lip on either side actually. The totems have some really good holding power on them. I'll talk more about it in a bit. I'm on a really good set of holds here, so I can dangle around a bit. Last bit of gear, a little bit away. It's not that far away actually. Proper cam central this route. I've placed 1 nut. I've got, because of doing this cam chat, I've got virtually a double set of cams on me, so I'll just bang them in as you go. I think you could probably climb this without nuts. Next bit goes up this sort of slabby, cracky stuff. It looks steeper in that shot than it really is. It's just padding up these good holds and things. Got cracks, so there's more good gear as well, right? But I'm going to crack on and get to the belay ledge. First pitch done, absolute belter of a pitch of climbing, especially on a day like today. It's absolutely stunning here. I thought it was worth a quick look at the kit that I've placed. There's 3 nuts in this pile of kit here. Clip stuff to the shelf just for a normal sort of changeover kind of thing, makes life easy. 2 of the nuts were from the belay before we started, well worth getting your second attached there like I mentioned earlier. The rest of it is CAMS. So the only one I haven't got here out of the different range of kit that I've brought is the Dragon Cam, which is in the belay. The rest of it, I've placed Camelot C4s, I've placed a Wild Country Friend, I've placed a little totem that was just there, those bendy ones, and then I've placed the big boy totem as well. So a right mix. You could definitely do it without CAMS, but because this is a video about CAMS and I've got loads on my harness today, thought I may as well bang a load in. Next pitch now then is going onwards and upwards. So yeah, the next pitch goes up there above Alison, up that steep looking crack again. Camera angle is not really that steep. It feels pumpy when you're at the top. They have to climb it well. Lots of bridging, you know, as you would expect in a corner. Probably will take CAMS quite well. So we'll get on with that and I'll join you back on the camera at the top, I expect. Short and sharp, that last pitch. Not very long, as you could see with me filming just down there. Quite steep though. He's banged loads of good cams in. Again, though, story of the day really with this route. Might have placed 1 nut or something, but you can just bridge out, and it's such a good position. It's so good, honestly. I never tire of doing that. It's just a shame it's not like twice as long, really. When you come up to the belay up here, you can see I've got a couple of bits over here. There's a cheeky thread up there as well, and then there's a glued in peg. I think it's glued in anyway, or banged in, and I've gone for like a master point rope belay guide mode, so it's all good to go, ready for Alison to come up and enjoy just awesome climbing. So that was Icarus, an ace couple of pictures, especially on a day like today. It's proper scorchio, it's absolutely lush. One of the points of the videos I keep going on about was the CAMS. So the ones I've got here, again, the Black Diamond C4s, they're on my personal rack. I've got the DMM Dragons, they're on my work rack. And then these two I've used a lot but don't own any myself. So big thanks to Outside for supplying these couple for the video, and Wild Country and Totem, because they, through Beta Designs, the distributor, supplied them to Outside in terms of supplying to me, so massive thanks to them for helping out. So these two I've used a lot but don't own. These two I own and use shed loads. So I'll just compare them because I just wanted to work out, or help you guys work out, which ones you should buy, because they're probably the four main ones. On my work rack, feel really nice. Thumb loops, I like thumb loops. They haven't got an extendable sling. I quite like extendable slings, but they're not the end of the world not to have them. The Dragons, like I say, are on my work rack, partly because they're just made down the road from my house. Nice to support local, isn't it? Most of my work kit is DMM. Super similar. Still twin axle design, same as all of these ones except the Totems. A stem in the middle comes through. This time, instead of to a thumb loop, it comes to this kind of nose affair, but you do get the extendable sling on these ones. So whilst I like a thumb loop, I do also like extendable slings. The distance it gives you, the extra length, isn't massive, but it is something. Okay, so it's worth thinking about, and I'll come back to that in a minute. Somewhere between the two really are the Wild Country Friends, because I've extended that one already. That shortens up, so it's got a thumb loop and it's got the extendable sling, so you don't have to extend it, but you can, and that gives you that extra protection. The reason we do that is to protect things against walking in, because as you pull on a cam it walks in and can get stuck into a crack, and it also helps with a bit of rope drag, you know, preventing getting loads of rope drag, doesn't it? But like I say, I do like a thumb loop. If you're an aid climber, you'll definitely like the thumb loops. I don't do any of that, but it's easier to clip into those and you get a bit closer to the kit rather than into the sling of the DMM one. And then almost the curveball, it's a newer one to the market, I suppose, in terms of design. It's very different, is the Totem cam. Okay, so instead of having the stem like these ones have in the middle, these are individually loaded cams. They go into the 4 wires which terminate into there, which then terminates into the sling. So they're not extendable, they don't have a thumb loop, so it's a slightly different design. Still pull on the trigger and everything, but they work quite differently, but I'll come on to that in a minute. So I'm going to do a separate video for like part 2 of how to place cams, but really I'm thinking, why would you buy one over the other? These three are so similar you just really need to have a play with them, go into a shop like outside and, you know, pull on the trigger and see, do you want an extendable sling? Does it matter to you? Would you prefer a thumb loop? There's not a lot in it. Taking these two as they're the same size, this is really subjective. Excuse the dog coughing in the corner over there. It's really subjective, but when you pull on the trigger of the C4, it's super smooth and there's some resistance. It just feels nice. You can pull it right through the range of motion really easily. The Wild Country one, there's a bit more resistance, so you have to pull quite hard to get it through to that over cammed point, which might be a good thing because we don't want to over cam our cams, but kind of the resistance feels like it increases through the range. But then it also feels like the spring stiffness helps to push the lobes back into place when you've actually put it in there. So it comes very much down to feel. Like I say, I prefer the C4s, but out of these three, I'd be more than happy with any of them on the rack for the rest of my climbing career. Absolutely I would. The differences are so marginal, you've just got to go and have a play with them, I think. This is the one, like I say, that's really quite different in its design and how it works and everything. It's got a few advantages to it, right? One of them that you'll see written about is that you can load only 2 lobes, which you can't on the others. It wouldn't be safe to do so. You can load 2 lobes, but only for an aid climbing situation. You wouldn't want to be taking a lead fall on it. It's the reason, because they have these individual wires, you can do that. You clip it slightly differently. Instead of into there, if you're loading just those 2, you clip into that bit. But like I say, it's an aid thing only. And most of us in the UK, where I'm from, don't really do much aid climbing, but it might be a consideration for you. Because they are individually loaded in a slightly different way though, you can get away with a bit more of a 2 quite closed and 2 a bit more open, which might not be quite ideal, but you've got a bit more leeway compared to the regular cams, as I'll call them, that I've shown already. So that might be an advantage. They actually have a very different camming angle. Instead of 13.75 on most cams, it's 40 point something, which gives a lot more outward force. So you get friction from there, it creates outward force from that, and it pushes itself into the crack more. So whilst the metal is harder than most of the other cams, it gives more pushing outwards, so that you might get a bit more margin for error in that more slippery rock, potentially like limestone, like slate, those kind of placements. So they can be quite confidence inspiring, and the lobes are actually kind of a slightly different shape as well. They can sit really well. I've said some really good things about it so far. Another good thing is the width of the head across there. It is more narrow than the Dragon and the other equivalents as well, so you can get it into those pockets more easily perhaps. Okay, that's because the design's just quite different. They're also super bendy. If I bend this equivalent size Dragon, yeah, they bend, and you can place them in horizontal breaks and that, but you know, it's relatively stiff. The Totem one, it just bends so much, so you get that. That's nice as well, because it affects the placement less then. Whilst we can't extend the sling, which I say helps with against walking and helps that rope drag, the walking situation is a bit better just because it bends more like that. So if the rope is pulling it, you just get a bit of flex through the whole thing. So that's an advantage as well. Another disadvantage perhaps, I think there's 2 more. Like I say, it's a really good cam. There's a couple of disadvantages perhaps. One is price. It is a bit more pricey. I think it's closer to 90 quid than the others are closer to 60. I'll flash the prices up on the video because I can't remember off the top of my head. They're also a little bit more fiddly to rack, not because of this silly carabiner, which I do not like at all. They're too small for my big hand, but just the way they sit because of this wideness is purely personal preference though. People who use these absolutely swear by them and wouldn't go back to the other cams, so it's probably just a bit of bias of what I'm used to. You know, like I say, I use this on my personal rack, so it just feels a bit different, but they're really good cams, and they absolutely have their place for that extra holding power, extra flex. I kind of feel like if I bought a rack of these, I'd probably be sold on them as much as anyone else's, but I thought it's just worth comparing them because they probably are the 4 main cams on the market. There's other ones out there, Natolius, etc., but these are the main ones that you just see at the crag every single time you go trad climbing. I'm going to do a second part to this video on how to place them and all that kind of stuff, the geeky side of that, but I thought this one could focus more on which cams you should buy, and I'm well aware that I haven't really given an answer there. I've just compared them because it is just down to you going and having a play with them, deciding what features you want and seeing what feels good in your hand in that quality shop like outside. There you go. I hope that video is useful. Hopefully some half decent climbing footage, hopefully some half decent waffle about the cams. when I do that other video, I'll go into a brief bit about the history and how they work and how to place them, that kind of stuff. But that's enough for this one. As always, massive thanks for watching, all the support massively appreciated. You can find us on Insta, find us on Facebook, click the like button, smash the subscribe button, all those things I say thanks for every time. All the support massively appreciated. But as always, thanks very much for watching. More videos coming up very soon.